Hello and welcome back. I am so excited for this episode, you guys. We are going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is my cat and all cats. And this is, I think, also relative to anyone just like on the journey, right? Because there's the Lionsgate portal, right, in August. And like there's just so much about the cat energy when you go back to ancient Egypt. Like there's so much for us here, and especially if we have a cat that we love and we're just noticing some behaviors that are either unlike them, or we're like, I guess this might not be normal for my cat to be doing this its whole life. And then you get to bring in someone like Julianne, who this is her expertise, this is her passion. Her company is called Naturally Cats, which I just love. And she also has an amazing book on cat chakras, which again, genius, amazing. I didn't even know that was a thing until recently. And I swear to God, since I've been paying more attention to my black cat Archer's chakras when I'm doing energy healing, instead of just like usually I'll just like blast him with a light. Awesome. But because of what Julianne said when we first met on a networking call, she was like, yeah, you should tap in. And it really changed so many different things. And especially even like we were talking about before hitting record, like the bag that he's addicted to staying in and like sleeping in is red. So like clearly he's feeling like he needs more red chakra stability alignment. So I am going to let Julianne kind of share a little bit more about how she got started with all of this. And if you're listening to the podcast and not watching on YouTube, I just want to point out that we are both like wearing sparkly things. And Julianne is just this like beautiful background with lights. And we're just really in this feminine energy today. And I love that for us.
Totally. Totally.
So we would love to hear how this all came about. And I know for you, like your story it's just it weaves into some of the really amazing lessons and aha moments that I feel like you're gonna give the audience today.
Thank you, Fallon. Yeah, when you never really realize you're on the journey until you look back and see the journey. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? It's been a journey, and I have to say, I never intended to be here doing what I'm doing. I didn't intend to have a book on cat chakras, to be offering, cleanses and treatments and things. I had a corporate job. I worked as a benefits manager for many years, for the government. And if you'd have said to me 5 years ago, like, this is what you're going to be doing when you leave your corporate job, and I've laughed in your face.
I love that. I love that so much.
But here I am. So it all came from my first cat pickle. So when I left university, we'd always had cats in my family, and when I left university, I desperately wanted one of my own, one that I could love and nurture and treat the way I wanted to, and she was called Pickle, and she was the only single cat, can you believe it, at a rescue center. The only cat. I know,
What?
I've never ever heard of that before, like since ever. No, no. So so I got her, and oh my gosh, she was so poorly for so long, and that was a real journey. She had diabetes, arthritis, pancreatitis, dandruff, gingivitis, sticky ears. Like she was just, it was, it was vet visit after vet visit, and I learned so much about holistic pet care and nutrition for cats. And I've just learned a phenomenal amount. She led me to train in feline self-selection, like using botanical remedies, energy work, behavior. Yeah, she was the school. She was the school for me that created Naturally Cats. Let me just say that.
Amazing. And we've talked about this so many times. I can't say enough. Like I love the name Pickles. Like it's the cutest name.
She had that when we got her, actually. They'd already named her at the center, so we
Oh
didn't
my
give her that name.
gosh.
Yeah, yeah, she'd already had that. But do you know what? The she had two dark stripes coming off like her eyebrows. I look up because she's on my wall. So she looked like she was perpetually grumpy because of the markings around her eyes. She looked like she was always like this, frowning for those of you that aren't watching us. But she was the most loving cat physically, like I have ever known. She would slump onto my pillow, we'd spoon on the bed, like, I could pick her up and just hold her for ages, face plant her tummy. She was incredible. But She was a very poorly girl, but she inspired me, and she this sounds dramatic. She changed my world. She rocked my world. I literally wouldn't be here with my business, with my books, if it wasn't for her. And I'm sure that there are listeners here who can relate to the fact that cats, and maybe it's not a cat, maybe it's a dog or another animal, they can really change our lives, like more than we ever think possible sometimes.
Yes. I don't know if I told you this, or I don't know if I've talked about it before, but um, Archer, when I first got him, I'd always wanted to have my own cat too. And I had my yellow lab, and I'm like, she just needs a friend. I was working a lot and I needed the money. So I was like, I promised her, I was like, I'm just going to get you a little friend and you guys can be happy. And then I'll also be able to get what I want, because at the time I was dating this man who, didn't treat me very well. And he was very allergic to cats. And we'd break up and get back together, break up and get back together. And I just woke up one day and I remember going into work. We both worked together at the same restaurant. And I looked one of my friends in the face and I said, I'm getting a cat today on my break. Do you want to come with me? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, great. So we went to the rescue, and yeah, talk about poorly. All these kittens were in rough shape. I just scooped up like 5 or 6 of them, put them in the playroom to watch, because I had an idea of what I wanted. I wanted like a long haired gray cat with big green eyes.
Okay.
And then I saw him and his little personality, and I was like, okay, he's the one, like this little black cat with these giant green eyes. And he saved me from that relationship. I mean, he was married, so it was a very dangerous relationship. Like, his wife had actually tried to kill my dog. So there was like a lot of trauma. And I know. So when people are like, oh, you're really obsessed with your cat, I'm like, do you know our story? Do you know how this
Mm,
cat literally saved my life? Because like I literally could not see this guy anymore because he couldn't come to my apartment. And I was like,
wow.
yeah.
What's giving me goosebumps, woman?
And
Ow.
yeah, and when I went through my spiritual awakening, um, he picked out my car, he picked out my apartment. He literally did all the things that I couldn't even think about doing, because again, my safety was in danger. And he's like, we have to get out of here. And he chose and made all of those decisions. And it was just beyond divinely guided in a way that like I can't even explain. And that's really what they want to do. Like they want to be of service, and our job is to keep them well and to keep them happy. So I would love to hear more about when people come to you and they're saying, my cat has this health issue or this behavioral issue, and then kind of their like awakening process of like how much deeper the healing needs to go, if that makes sense. I don't know if you
Yeah, totally. And you know what? When I first left my corporate job, I called myself a cat behaviorist because I thought that's what people would Google, right? I thought
right,
that's how I'd get clients. That's how I'd be able to pay my bills. That's what I called myself because I thought that was the logical thing to do. And in the
right.
last few years, I've changed my title from cat behaviorist to holistic cat therapist because it's not just about the cat, right? And what happens now, people come to me when they're at the end of the line, right? They've tried vets. It's usually behavior issues rather than physical issues.
Yeah.
Um, because obviously I'm not a vet, and if anybody's got problems with their cats, a physical issue, you should go and see your vet. Like complementary, which is what I do. Complementary treatments do not replace veterinary care. They are, as the word says, complementary, not alternative, not in place of. So people generally come to me with anxious cats. That's the kind of clients I work with. Anxious people with anxious cats. And they'll come to me because they've tried everything. They've, as we've all done, like put my hand up here, I've genuinely done this too. You Google and you Google and you Google, or whichever search provider you like, you try and find the answers by yourself, and sometimes you get to a point when you're just about to give up and you don't know what else to do. And people come to me and say, my cat's like over grooming on their tummy, or they're weeing around the house, or they're being super aggressive to other animals in the home, or they're hiding away. Like, basically, they want to change their cat's behavior. And what I do is tell them that that's not actually what's going to happen. And just bear with me. So, people want to change their cat. And actually, what we do together is look at the guardian's energy, the guardian's impact on the cat's behavior. So, I didn't realize until I had my own kind of awakening that my energy, my emotional state impacts my cats. And I'm not saying that guardians cause problem behaviors, but what I'm saying is they are very, very deeply connected. Our cats and a lot of animals actually are like sponges. They will absorb our emotions and energy, even if we try our best to hide it or to push it down or to ignore it. It comes out of us. They feel it anyway. And so the best thing people can do is to face it. And to face it is really hard. To face into your emotions that you've buried of previous animals that have passed, the guilt, the sadness, the shame, to deal with, our trauma, childhood issues, or previous relationships, or problems in our jobs, to face all that stuff that we've been ignoring for a good while can be really hard. So I used to support people with making changes in their home, suggesting extra litter trays, for example. But now I help them look at the energy and the emotions of themselves and their cats, because that's where, in my experience, particularly the last like 3 or 4 years, the transformations have been phenomenal. They really have. When the guardians have started to look at themselves, they've come off anti-anxiety medication, they've come off antidepressants, they've stopped therapy they've been having for years, and now all of a sudden they've got a cuddly cat. And the cat's not weeing around the house, and the cat isn't weeing on them in their bed, and the cats aren't chasing others around the house. They're coming for lap cuddles, and they're coming for comfort and connection. So for me, I think behaviorists do a valid job, because we've got to start somewhere. Like, it's only been in the last, I would say, 10 years really, that cats have started to be really seen in society.
Mm-hmm.
There's been so much out there for dogs, which I am grateful for, but cats have been a bit underrepresented, so it's great to see now that people are going to behaviorists if after they've been to the vet, like get help, whatever it may be, but get help from someone, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we've talked about this, and I'm sure everyone listening's heard me talk about this a lot, but I just also want to share, like, that's why I love having these conversations with people who we've learned the hard way by going to all of these different people. And like, even if they helped, they didn't help to the point of us like thriving and our cat thriving, right? So if you can do as much as possible in like a one-stop shop, like, this is why we need to talk about this more, because I'm just thinking about so when I had my spiritual awakening, it was because I had a bunch of childhood repressed memories come back, and it was very overwhelming. But at the
Mhm.
same time, like, super validating. I'm like, okay, this makes a lot of sense that this is my experience, right? And
Yeah,
thank God that I was protected from those memories. So naturally, I
yeah,
went to a shaman immediately. And of course, Archer just wanted to be a part of that
yeah.
appointment. And she said, he if you catch him being anxious or stressed sometimes, it's because he's so overwhelmed being in his small body. And a lot of cats that are here who are meant to be guardians, they're ascended masters, like, they're used to being these giant cats. They're literally used to being your lion and your tiger. So no one's gonna fuck with you, right? But they're in this little body, and there's only so much that they can do, and they can do that energetically. So I would love to go deeper into learning more about the chakras and like what that's like for them, because that's their biggest source of power, right? When they're in these little bodies and they're trying to protect us.
It is their greatest source of power. But the problem we have is the guardians aren't watching. The guardians don't always know about it. So the best way that a cat can communicate that is through their behavior. That's why they're constantly licking their tummy or weeing around the house to say, there's a problem, there's a problem, like, listen to me, like, pay attention to me, and then I think when the guardians find the energetics and they realize that that is where the shift needs to be, like, that unblocking, that unlocking is really phenomenal. So I found out about chakras. I did an animal healing diploma, and it didn't really talk much about chakras. It was more about kind of like a bit like Reiki, like hand positions and aura cleansing and grounding and protecting and everything, which again is all completely valid and needed. I wanted to find more about it myself, so I did a lot of research into chakras with humans, and then I started working with my own cats, and the kind of the downloads, I suppose, for cat chakras just like whooshed in. and and the more I put it into practice, the more it was validated. So I did my first ever chakra cleanse with a client. I was absolutely petrified. My inner critic's going off the goddamn charts at me, and I'm just trying to be cool and calm. And I gave all the feedback. And the guardian's there within 20 minutes crying, like just about how spot on everything was and how much like it made sense. And that's what inspired me to write the book. The cat chakra book was because I want people to be able to see and to read that they can do this themselves. Like I am special because we're all special, but I'm not unique in terms of like only I can do it. Like everyone can do it if you create the space and the time to work with your cat's chakras and energy. And what I learned from my boy Leo, who very similar to what you said, he's never been in a human or an animal body before. He's not used to being confined in terms of energy. He he can be very anxious. He doesn't trust very easily. Yet when you have that, the relationship can be phenomenal. But he has been one of my biggest teachers, and I don't say that lightly because of the journey that I had with Pickle. But he has taught me so much about energy that I can't not speak about it now. Sometimes my head's like, oh, you should talk about behavior and talk about environment enrichment and things, but I can't. Like I need to talk about the energetics. Yeah, yeah. Like, ma'am, come on now. So everybody talks a little bit differently about cat chakras. I focus on the main seven because I think cat chakras is a new topic. And my experience has been of the main seven. Now, there'll be people that say that they have eight, there'll be people that say they have 12. You got to go with a source that you trust. I work with the seven because I've got experience of the seven, and it is similar to humans. If a cat's not very grounded, makes me think about your boy, they're going to seek out ways to do that, and color therapy is one of the simplest and yet most powerful ways to offer energetic and emotional support to your cat, which basically means getting something that is one of the seven colors of the chakras. Now, that could be a piece of paper, could be a t-shirt, it could be a scarf, it could be a pillowcase, it could be anything that you can find in your home, like literally anything that is made of color, and put it down for your cat to work with and see what they do. Like you sing about Archer with the red bag, he's in there because he's like, oh, it's like a battery docking station, like I'm
Yeah.
recharging them.
Yeah. That is
So
so fun. I'm gonna do this experiment. I don't know how it's gonna go. We'll see. Um,
great.
Getting all these different color pieces of paper and laying them out
Yep.
because he love anything on a table, like he loves it. The bag he's laying in obsessively is on a table in the middle of the house. So he has control and he's also recharging.
You can see.
Anytime the papers come out, he just wants to sit on things. So now I can actually pay more attention to the colors.
Yes. So if he likes to be on the table, put it on the floor. So it's
Okay.
not, and it's not a question of like testing him, right? What the point, the reason why I say that is to help your head validate the experience that you have. So if you put it on the table and he goes and lays on them, your head's going to be like, well, of course he does, because he always lays on things on the table.
Yeah.
Like, Julianne's just making it up, whereas if you put it on the floor and he goes and lays on one, you can be like, isn't that really interesting? He must need that color. So yes, you can get anything that's that color. There's two things I would say that are don'ts. Don't put it on their cat beds because you don't want to displace them. So if I said to you, go and put this bright orange t-shirt on and wear it all day long, you might be like, oh my God, you got to, well, I would, because I don't like orange. I'd be like, oh my God, you got to be kidding. Like, no way in hell do I want to do that, Whereas if you said to me, like, put this black t-shirt on, I'd be like, oh, I'm really happy with that. So, I get a choice. And it's the same with cats. So if you put color on their cat bed, you could displace them if they don't need it. So don't put it near on their cat bed. Um, and don't put it near their food and litter trays. Again, like they're kind of key resources. So don't mess with what's already working. You want to put it down somewhere that's different. So I've got a couple of pieces of fabric. I'm a bit OCD about these things. And I've got a couple of pieces on my spare bed because I never go in that room. I've got two in the dining room and one in the front room. So you put them in places where your cat won't normally kind of go, because what you'll see is if they need that color, they will sit with it. Now they may sit near it, they may sit on it, it depends how much energy they need, and only the cat knows that. So if I said to you, I'm going to book you in for an hour's massage, you might be like, oh, great, that's lovely. But you may also be like, oh God, I don't have the time, or I don't want that much time. So only you know what's right for you. And the same with our cats. So one of the biggest foundations of naturally cats is giving cats a voice. And by doing that is giving them a choice. So giving them a choice in any botanical remedies that you use and any color work that you offer. Cats are, in my opinion, sentient and sensitive. They are unique beings. And if we give them some sense of autonomy, you'll be amazed at how just even that can really impact your relationship. I'm going to stop there because I've been talking for like a good 5 minutes and I know that I could go on about this topic. So I'll pass it back to you.
No, I love it. And I just want to comment like autonomy is my favorite word right now. So love that. So, over grooming. I didn't even know that that was a thing. And then, of course, I started realizing that Archer was doing that.
Oh, is he? I
Yeah.
didn't realize
And
that.
well, so this is why I want to talk about it with you.
Hey, hit me. Go for
And
it.
yeah, and I will add to, I mean, he's in the house with another black cat who is definitely big protector energy and
Mhm.
just kind of carries himself in a way like, yeah, I take care of all these people and all this land, and it's like super easy for me, and I'm totally fine with it. So I feel like there's this like, it's like kind of seems like an ego issue that Archer's been having, but I would just love your perspective on that, like the over grooming, and then sometimes he's like best friends with the other cat, and then other times he'll like go after him, and I'm like, what is wrong with you, dude?
So is it whereabouts is it? Where is the over grooming? Whereabouts is it?
Um, like his hip.
So further down, like towards the bottom end.
Mm-hmm.
Is it on his tummy towards that like that side, or is it on the back by the bottom of his tail?
Both, but much more outside of his body.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so my first impression to be like that's like sacral chakra, sacral and root. So with him with the red bag, like he's trying to ground himself. Beautiful. It just warms my heart to hear of him doing that. Like it really does. Um, so sacral in cats is connected to their sense of identity. So if there's another cat in the home, he might be struggling to be his unique self, to display his kind of normal cat behaviors if there is another one. So what we have to remember is that yes, there are energetics and cats are also territorial beings. There's like the 3D, world in front of us. Do you know what I mean? So the sacral is where cats can be diminished if the guardian's not, and I'm not saying this about you, but if the guardian's not living their full true purpose.
Well, that is obvious. So thank you. Yes, that is very true. And I will add too that this is very interesting. I mean, the other cat who's lived here has been around for many, many years. But no one can tell, like none of the guys can tell the cats apart, and all of the girls can easily tell them apart. So that's
Fascinating.
been a very interesting thing too, with like the masculine, feminine, like male brain, female brain. I'm like, how can you not tell them apart? They look totally different. Their fur is different, their body style is different, their eyes are different.
Oh my God, that is so funny. That is fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, over grooming, we have to rule out things first. Do you know what I mean? Like vet check, health check, internal pain. Do you know what I mean? Some of like the basics really,
Yeah.
and make sure that everything is working as it should be. Then I go to color, and then I would suggest, and then I would probably go to the guardian, ask them what's going on with them. How is their sacral chakra? So like you don't have to answer this, but some of my questions would be like, what is your digestion like? And as you're a woman, do you have any menstrual issues? What is your sense of your autonomy like? And ask questions about your sacral chakra to try to get an idea about his. What I could also do, hang on a second, is that'll adjust in just a second. Um, you can use a picture of the I can use a picture of the cat to connect in with them and check their chakras. Um, Over grooming is the cat's way to try and get control. Now, that could be control of their energy. So they're licking because they're trying to move energy,
Yeah.
literally moving it out. Or there's some element that they're not able to express about themselves, which is why they're continuing to lick. So when the actual licking behavior is self-soothing. So when he's doing it, it may be a stress response, but the reason that he's doing it is to calm himself, to soothe himself. So it's trying to find a way to support him as well as that. So there are people that I know of that will distract the cat when they start to lick. And I don't personally agree with that because you're stopping the cat from using a coping mechanism that they're trying to employ to help themselves to feel better. My best suggestion to clients is to say to them, and what else can you do to give him more or her to give them more emotional support. So, like for you, one of my recommendations for him would be to put down some dried herbs in a herb garden. So you get a towel or a little blanket. Again, not near food or litter tray. You put it in a quiet space of the home and you put down, like we all know, a lot of cats like catnip. There's so many more herbs that you can use. So, like with the over grooming, I would suggest dried valerian root. I would suggest chamomile, not chamomile, marigold, or what's it called in the US, calendula, and valerian calendula, and rose. So organic if you can get them. So valerian root helps with anxiety and it's really grounding. So it helps with the root chakra and it will help a little bit with the sacral, but it will primarily help to anchor in the root. Calendula helps to boost self-confidence and it's an orange flower, right? And you can get ones that you can either get petals or you can get the heads and that will support his sacral. And then rose, generally little rosebuds, again, make those particularly get organic because they can be heavily perfumed with chemicals. And rosebuds are really nurturing. So they help to support the heart chakra. So when he is over grooming, he's not feeling safe for whatever reason. He's doing it to soothe himself. So the rosebuds help to kind of give him that kind of safe, nurturing energy. And what you do is you literally just get a really good big pinch, and put it on each corner. And then you leave him and you see what he does. Now, you've got more than one cat in the home, so you need to have more than one garden because you don't want it to be a resource they fight over. So if one cat shut away, put it in that room. If not, have two down. And you will find the cats will rub, roll, sometimes ingest, which is absolutely fine. Sometimes lick, sometimes draw, sometimes play with. They will enjoy the healing properties of the herbs. And again, it gives them a choice, gives them autonomy. But the beautiful thing with the botanical remedies is that it also has that chemical effect on their body. So it reduces their anxiety, it helps to boost their self-confidence. And you've given them an opportunity to manage their emotional state. So, like, why wouldn't you? I can't move my camera, but I've got one on the floor. I've always got one down for my boys, one down here in my office, and one downstairs in the dining room. We've always got herb gardens down.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
And yeah, everyone here knows I'm obsessed with like herbs and Chinese medicine. And
Do
it's
it.
funny that you said that a lot of your guardians, humans, will like get off anti-anxiety and anti depression medication. Valerian root is like a game changer when it comes to those things. So that totally makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, valerian root. I mean, personally, I find it disgusting. I find that it smells like sweaty feet and I really can't stand it. I tried a new tea bag yesterday that was sleepy tea and I tell you, I almost vomited. It was gross I checked the back and it said it had valerian root. It is not for me, but I know there are some people that absolutely love it. But for cats, I tell you, I would pick valerian root over catnip every single day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. I love that so much. That's a fun rabbit hole for me to go down later.
Yeah. Enjoy. Well, any questions, let me know. And I will put in a shameless plug. So my first book when I left my corporate job, I was asked to co-author a book called The Aromatic Cat, and we've got information in there. It was myself and Nyana Morag, and there is information on 20 botanicals, how to use essential oils, how to use herbs just with cats. So there's no kind of general pets, there's no kind of dogs or anything. It's all about using it with cats. So, that might have information that you would be helpful for you.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's so cool. Because all of those things I learned from a human brain perspective, right? So
Yes.
that transition into learning about it from the chakra perspective is just so fun and going to be so cool.
And that's what I love. That's what I think is great. So that people, when I start to talk about it, they'll that they get it to a degree because they've heard about it for humans, right?
Yeah.
And there are so many little like light bulbs that go off for people, and they say, "Oh, I didn't know I could do it for my cat." And I'm like, "Yes, you can. Go and do it for your cat."
Well, people are medicating their cats and their dogs, right? With like
No.
benzos and SSRIs. We won't go down that because it's just not fun to talk
No.
about. But
Yeah,
it's just
it's
absolutely
tough.
insane when we think about how much we need to know, right? Which is why I'm just so grateful that you're sharing all of this amazing wisdom with us because everything that comes from the earth wants to support us, you know?
Agreed. And I agree with you. Medicating cats, like you said, that's a whole other rabbit hole and a completely different topic. It is heartbreaking to see because there is this disconnect, right? The vets get to a certain point in terms of physical treatment, and their answer then is those medications. There is a whole other world that we can look at and investigate. And we have to remember, we domesticated cats. And it's not been for that
Right.
long. It's not been like hundreds of thousands of years. We've asked them to come and live in our homes. We've asked them to be around all of the technology that we have in the house, all of these devices, all of these things emitting, all of this energy. And we haven't really done anything to kind of negate that for them, to support them with those changes. So I think that's why I can be very passionate about herbs and, energy, like putting down some bits of color, like going and raiding your wardrobe. Even if you just do one thing and get some dried valerian root, like those two things will really help your cat's peeps. If anyone wants a takeaway from today, it's those two things.
Amazing. Yeah. And I love what you said about the EMFs and like all of that and
Oh,
how that impacts them because,
yeah.
again, like we are, I mean, obviously, most cats want to be inside, especially if it's cold or if it's like too hot. But I never thought of it that way. And that has a lot to do too with like our kids, right?
Yeah,
Like a lot of
totally. I
their,
mean, I can't speak for humans because I don't have any myself, little ones, but for our cat, not my realm, but our cats, like totally, and we've also started to bring. I mean, I don't have it myself, but we use, scented candles and reed diffusers and plug-in smelly things, and all of those are synthetic. All of those could be toxic to cats if they've got no chance to not inhale them, you know. So like devices, electronics, and scents are just two of the things that we pepper around our houses and don't even think about the consequences with the cats. And again, like, why would we? Because no one's told us that we need to be concerned, or no one's told us that it can influence them or impact them, right? So that's why doing sessions like this with you, it's great to be able to share with people who are perhaps interested in a different topic, hey, come and just have a think about this, see if it might help.
yeah, I remember when that light bulb came on and it's like your cat's nose is so close to the ground, it's so close to the counters. What are you using to clean those? And when we switched to Better Life products, like so many of his health issues went away. And then,
Fascinating.
yeah, and then he manifested his dream kitchen and lots of counter space. And like, he didn't have any of the, I mean, he had so many respiratory issues. And like, I mean, it was gross, he would have like
Yeah.
snot coming out and stuff. And then when we started changing the cleaners that we were using, we were doing more energy work. And then he needed a major past life regression because he had someone in the astral still kind of coming to him, basically wanting to apologize for what they did to him. And he was just like, no, fuck you, dude. Like, you ruined my life in a past life. I don't want to talk to you. And then a week after that, he was like a completely different cat and he hasn't had any of those like health issues since then, which was crazy because that didn't happen until he was 12. So the first 12 years of his life, he was living with these lungs that were just not functioning very well.
Oh my gosh. That
Yeah.
isn't that just amazing? It just goes to show the impact of energy work, whether that's past life regression, whether that's healing treatments, whatever it may be. Energy is the foundation, and I never really got that before. I was so focused on behavior and thought that that was the answer. Like that's where the problem was, that's where the answer is, and it's just not. It's just not. I mean, my boy Leo, the eldest of my two, I look up there because I got all their pictures on my wall. You know, he has asthma, and he didn't show any symptoms until the first 3 months of us of him being with us, and it's really well managed now. And he will have an asthma attack, and it will flare up when I am not dealing with my energy. So I'm like, oh, okay, buddy. Like, I see you as a little Mr. Mirror, you know. So if he has an asthma attack, I'm like, oh God, I've got to get my journal out because what is it I'm holding in? Like, what is it I'm not letting through, not letting, not processing? Um, and I think that's a beautiful way that our cats, like you said at the beginning, Fallon, they are incredible teachers if we are open to it, if we start to pay attention to the lessons, if we allow ourselves to come out of our heads and actually come into the heart space and hear what it is they have to share. You know, it breaks my heart when I see him have an asthma attack, but I'm also really grateful because I'm like, thanks, buddy. Like, what can I shift now to help us both? You know?
Exactly. Yeah, that's because they're our companions. And like, you're like, oh my God, I love my cat so much. Or I love my dog so much. And like, you hear this from single people like, oh, I wish someone would look at me the way that my cat looks at me. And it's like, well, then do it. Why do you think your cat thinks that? It's because they see you in your full essence and your full authenticity. And I'll never forget when it was cute. Archer was actually mentoring an animal communicator because like she was kind of doubting her gifts. And he was just like, nope, you're doing a great job. And then she started like tearing up. And I was like, what did he say? She's like, just the way that he looks at you and talks about you, he just literally thinks you're the most amazing thing that's ever walked the earth. And he's just in awe of you all the time. And you're just so generous and so loving. And he's just so grateful that he gets to be your guardian. And I was like, oh. And I'm like, that's probably how all of our animals feel. So like, why wouldn't we go down that road of like, learning more about taking care of ourselves and loving ourselves and completely being ourselves and allowing us to have the things that we want and having boundaries. Like that's a big boundaries and integrity are big words for 2025, or at least the people that I like to learn from that do predictions and stuff. Those are like two of the big words that are coming in, and those are two of the biggest lessons that our cats can teach us. Like, and they do it so
Completely
easily
agree.
and effortlessly
Yeah.
because they see things before we do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. And they are they are so wise. You know, they're such wise beings. We have a lot to learn from them. You know, we really do. And I am in awe of how deeply spiritual they are. You know, like I feel like I'm a teeny little tiny student, and like Leo's this
Yeah.
tiny, really big sort of like teacher. You know, I just think it's a beautiful blessing when we have one of them or more in our lives, if we can take the time to connect with that, with the gift they want to share and the lessons they want to teach us. Like my two boys, Leo's here to teach me surrender. Oh,
And
not
I
to curse,
love,
but
no, you can do whatever you want. Um, Archer and I both have Leo moons in our astrological chart.
you,
Yes.
God, I help you. It's the soul contract piece for me is when I really learned into that with the boys was phenomenal. You know, Leo's here to teach me surrender, and it's been a really bumpy ride at times, and I'm getting better with it. But his lessons for me is surrender, whereas Baby Max is joy, just like you said, right? Bring joy to your life, have joy in your life, like use the products that you save for best, use the nice crockery, wear the nice tops, like, take care and love and nurture yourself. And that's again what I teach my one-to-one clients. Like, it's not about sacrificing everything for you for everyone else. Like, we've done that. Like, I've done that for many, many years, right? And I'm sure
Yeah.
some of you listening will have been the same.
Yeah.
That's not the best way to be. When we love, nurture, and honor ourselves, our relationship again could really transform with our cats. Like the last 12 months when my divorce was finalized, finally got my name on the deeds for my house, and a few other things happened. I started to prioritize myself for the first time in my life, 40 plus years. I prioritize myself over my cats. And that's not an easy thing for me to say because I've been, all about cats and I've given them every single thing I could. And then this last year, I had to put myself first because I was dealing with a lot. Actually, what I found was, crikey, the more I did it, the more lap cuddles I would get from Leo, like my ex-feral cat, right, who runs at the sight of anybody walking past the front door. He would, I mean, today, like I had an hour and a half of lap cuddles from him. That's just unheard of. And I meditated this morning, and I'm not saying to people that if you meditate, your cat will give you lap cuddles. But for me, I have those reassurances from my boys that when I nurture myself, they show me love in the ways that I really enjoy. And that's, again, what I believe that the guardians as humans can learn from them, that if we create the space and the time, I know we're all busy, but if you can carve out that little bit of self-love, you're on the journey, you're on the way to really have that soul to soul connection with your cat. They do really genuinely see us for the beings, the raw beings that we are, and not the layers of trauma and pain and crusty and all the gnarly stuff. They don't see us as that. We define ourselves by that, but they don't. They see us as the beings of light that in our core we really are. And I feel like I'm getting a bit philosophical, but if we could just all honor that a bit more, you'd be amazed what will happen with you and your cat.
Well, I don't know the timeline of what I'm about to say, but I'll again go down this rabbit hole later and encourage everybody to do the same, unless you know the answer. But in ancient times, so ancient, I don't know when that is, but when a man was proposing to a woman and she said yes, the first thing that he would do wasn't a ring, it was a cat. He would pick out her cat as her guardian. And I wonder if that has anything to do with when the timeline shifted and the patriarchy started taking over and they didn't do that because knowing what you and I know, and now everyone listening knows, like, I have to have a cat. Like, they're here to teach me. I need a teacher. I need someone to give it to me straight. And that's the
Guide me and show
communicate.
me. And yeah. Oh my God, I've never heard that. That is fascinating. Well, you won't be the only one going
Yeah.
down a rabbit hole with that.
Yeah. And I've heard different variations where um in one specific culture, it was always like a white cat. And so that's why some people have this perception of white cats being for like fancy people. Um, like I said, I can't remember what part of the world, but it was definitely like king queen type vibes. And then in other cultures that didn't really matter like what color it was. And you and I both have black cats, so we are
Yeah.
black cat people.
Funny. Yeah.
And I feel like they just flock to me now. There's a road that I go down, and anytime I go down the road by myself and it's an adventure day, it's not like I have to go to the store to get this day. It's like I don't know where I'm going. I'm just gonna have fun. So a
Mhm.
couple times a week I do that. There's always this little black cat that's just walking down the street. Like he owns the place and this acres and acres of land. And I'm like, I just love that for you, little dude. Like, I love that. And I feel like every time I see a cat out and about, it's a black cat.
That is beautiful. They just come to you. They just flock to you. They know you're ready to receive them.
Yeah, I'm ready to
Love
receive your
it.
protective properties. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm sure some
Brilliant.
people are listening or like kind of putting their some pieces together, but it's like for me, what I've learned and you just really mirroring it back in such a beautiful way is like, I mean, your cat could be like your manifestation coach, your life coach, your health coach. Like you just need to have the right guidance. And, people like Julianne, like this is literally what she was born to do. This is what she does all day. And it's just
Yeah.
like such a blessing because we both met at a new networking group for the first time. And I saw, there's a bunch of people on the screen on Zoom, right? And like I just see this big sign behind her. This is naturally cats. And I'm like, I don't even know if we need to talk because I'm immediately going to stalk you and like we're going to talk at some point. Like, you don't even need to sell me on anything. Like, I'm sold. I'm there. I love your energy. There's black cats all over your office. Like, let's do this thing.
I love that. That's brilliant. I have to say the beautiful cover that I've got hides a load of crap underneath, so it looks great because you don't want to see like the moniker cupboard I've got underneath there.
So, well, if you need help with clutter, you know who to talk to.
Indeed.
But I mean, your office is such a sacred space, right? Like, I love having all of my books and my candles and like all my little knickknacks just like ready to go.
And I think also like it brings you the energy for your day to day, right? So when I left my corporate job, I had to wear certain clothes to work. I'm sat here with a beautiful sparkly top on and I've got comfy bottoms on underneath, like not pajamas. I'm not gone that far, but I've got comfy bottoms on. And I've got my boys, I've got half a dozen pictures of each one, and then a couple of my girl Pickle. She's also in a frame. I've got some crystals. I've got some glittery things from my niece. I've got some coloured bunting, like all the stuff you can't see. But like I sit here and it's like, this all makes me smile. When I come to sit in my day job, come to do my day job, there are days, and I'm sure you guys have this as well, where you doubt yourself. You doubt and you question and is anyone listening? Is there any point in doing these emails, these social media posts? Has anyone ever read my books? Like you have all those sorts of thoughts because I'm a human, right? But when I sit down, that's why they're plastered against the wall, and I look up at my boys, there are times when I'm like, do you know what? Even if no one is listening, even if no one is reading the posts, I am committed to giving cats a voice for my babies, past and present. So I will continue to show up to speak up for cats. And I trust now that people are listening. And like you said about the lessons, I didn't always think that was the way. I used to get so frustrated with Pickle at times. And now, when anything happens, the first thing I ask myself is, what is this trying to teach me? My word for 2024 was growth. On the 2nd of January, Leo weed against the side of my brand new £600 chair. Yeah. So I stood there. I all of a sudden realized that the wee was soaking through my sock and I burst into tears. And then I was like, buddy, thank you so much. Like, I know there is growth in this, like, literally 2 days into the year that happened. And then a few months ago, just before my birthday, he weed in the front room and I went into such a rage of anger. I was screaming and shouting around the house like I was evil. And I'm like, isn't it fascinating how different emotions can come up? And that's what I believe that our cats do. They use the strongest form of communication that they have, which is their behavior, to help us find, feel, and release emotions that we are not dealing with. So that's why my cat can wee, and one day I'll cry about it, and one day I will scream and shout about it, because those are the energies and the emotions that I'm not moving. And that's the gift he brought for me. Now, I get not everyone's going to have that perspective. There'll be some people like, God, if your cat wees in the chairwoman, like, ditch your cat or whatever. But that's my perspective. And the more I have lent into what is this trying to teach me, the deeper my connection and relationship has become with them. It really has. It's not like, oh God, he's doing this again, and isn't he a bad cat? And I wish he'd just stop. And I'm so frustrated. I don't have any of that heavy energy. I'm like, buddy, thank you so much. Like, I don't know what it is right now, but I'll figure out what the lesson is. It's that mindset piece. We have a choice. We always have a choice. You have a choice about how you show up, what you say, how you react, how you deal with your emotions, how you carry yourself, what you believe, what you perceive. We always have a choice.
That's so spot on for me with the anger piece because there was a time when an archer was doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was purposely not getting angry. And then he was doing it more. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And it's
I
like,
bet you did it
he's
more.
trying to get me to get angry. And I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
And like, even right now, like, very fresh. Like, I need to be working on my anger. So, yeah, that's very powerful. And I'm sure
Yeah.
a lot of women here, like, you need to work on your anger, right? And
That's the
like,
thing, like with women in anger, we are not taught how to feel it, how to express it. I agree with you. The last 12 months since processing my divorce, I have had a lot of anger. And like, what do you do with that? I mean, some of my coping mechanisms, I ended up getting some little toy footballs, like really small, like hand size. So I could throw them at the wall.
yeah,
I got a rolling pin, and my dad gave me this big black cat cushion for Christmas. And I was literally on my bed, it sounds so wrong, but bashing the cat cushion with the rolling pin, trying to get the anger out. Like, what do you do with your anger?
I mean, my favorite thing to do, honestly, is like
Yeah.
smash it. And there's places
Oh,
here in the US where you can go. And I mean, it's like a
I
hundred
know.
bucks, but like, it's $100. You're breaking a bunch of plates and stuff. Like, yeah. And then recently, I'm so grateful I was able to do this. I was able to shoot some guns. That was
Wow.
really cool.
Wow.
So I'm very physical. Like I've always been that way. And I
Yeah.
think that's why, and I'm a manifesting generator in human design, and Archer is a manifester. So that's why he loves telling me what to do. And when I started paying more attention, like, oh yeah, like I channeled my rage into sports. And I always use this analogy, but it's legit the truth. Like the end of Mean Girls when Regina George is playing lacrosse, like
Oh, I
knocking
haven't
people
seen it.
over. That was me. She was like the pretty popular girl, and then she
Okay.
transitioned into a jock, and she's just going down the lacrosse field, like punching people and like moving them out of the way and like scoring goals. And I'm like, that's the only reason I survived my childhood to begin with. So like, why wouldn't I be channeling my anger and that releasing, right? Like that's why like I loved lacrosse because it was
Yeah.
such a quick release
Move it.
with my arm. So even things like, throwing a ball or, hitting a ball, like, I love playing like with the just like the plastic wiffle ball set and stuff like that. And just
Mm-hmm.
setting that intention, right? Like I'm gonna allow myself to get as angry as possible, or maybe I need to go to for a drive and just like scream Avril Lavigne or like whatever, Alanis Morissette. There's a reason I love them, right? And there's a reason
Yeah.
I feel like they came into the world right when they
Yes.
did, and it's for
Yes.
like my generation, because I we have to teach the next generation like this is how you deal with your anger responsibly, so that
Agreed.
you don't snap one day. One of my best friends and mentors was the head medical director at the women's prison in the state of Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
and he would
Wow.
tell me all the time, he's like, these women, never were given any skills on how to manage their anger, and
Yeah.
their hormones were out of whack.
Yeah.
And so all of the things that we can learn through holistic healing like teaches us that we really have to deal with our anger. We have to deal with it responsibly because it will catch up with us, right? And I'm
Yeah.
sure like your the chair you just bought for 600 pounds for your cat to pee on it, like I would have been so upset. Like I remember when I got my first nice couch that I paid full price for, and I looked at Archer and I was like, I know you're going to scratch this, so just try not to do it as often as you want because like this is very important to me. um I don't know what I was talking about. It's fine.
Yeah, no, you're same about anger. I completely agree with you. I
Yeah,
think, our cats will do something to help us to lift that, to open that valve, right? To
yeah.
take the top off the tap, because if we're not doing it, they're still feeling it, right? So we may be ignoring it, we may not know we've got it, or we may be pushing it down and trying not to deal with it. They're still feeling it. So they're trying to help themselves and they're trying to help us by
Mm.
then doing something that is reactive, for example, that brings that emotion out. So again, like if your cat's making you angry, this might be a stretch for some people, but where can you find gratitude for that? Because they are giving you a blessing. They are helping you to have a release, because we don't want to keep anger in us. Like physiologically, you do not want to keep the vibration of anger in your body. We're talking all sorts of physical health issues. It has to come out. It has to come out, and you've got to find a way that works. Like one of my clients, she found this like hilltop space, and she would go and do like scream therapy. Now the thought of doing that for me like makes me want to cringe. Like that is not my jam
It's
whatsoever. I'd be
so
far too
hard.
embarrassed. I couldn't
No,
do it.
I need
I could,
to. I'm not good at screaming. I need
I
to
so,
be better
but
at
when you
that.
said smashing stuff, I'm like, oh, I could give that a
Yeah,
go. I could totally
yeah,
get behind that, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
you've got to find what works for you, but just remember, peeps, that your cats are your teachers. And when you switch from the perspective of, God, why is my cat doing this to me, to why is my cat doing this for me, you
Hmm.
will be really surprised in the shift that will happen between you. Like, trust me, I speak from experience.
I mean, and that's like spirituality 101, right? Like this isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And like, of course your cat's gonna be supportive of you in that because they're your guide.
Exactly. The guide and teacher. So why wouldn't you employ that principle and that mindset shift to your cat or animal, right? It's just simple. Simples.
Amazing. Oh my God, this has been so fun. You're wonderful. I am going to put the links below so people can get in your world and check out your book. Is there anything in closing that you would like to share about how people can get a hold of you and work with you?
Thank you so much, Fallon. I can't believe it's been an hour. This has been so much fun. Um, so I'm on all the social medias, primarily Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
We love
A
the
little bit on
Instagram. We love
yeah,
Instagram, guys. We love it.
that's good. Totally on there. And this year, or well, 2025, I'm going to be back to doing lives again every month, which I'm really excited about. My website, naturallycats.co.uk, you can get signed copies of both the books there. My one-to-one healing treatments are there. And the last option that I have for people is really the biggest space for transformation. It's the Become a Solid Cat Guardian program, and it's an opportunity for people to look at themselves and their cat. So it's not an animal communication course. It's not a small investment, either financially or in terms of your time, because it's a transformational program. It's a four module course, and the first half is about the human. It's about us looking at our limiting beliefs, our fear, our trauma, our past grief, and working with all of that, shifting all of that, coming out of our heads from anxiety so that we can come into our heart space. And then the next two modules are connecting with your cat and receiving them, and not just like animal communication, but like their essence and their wisdom, and working with their energy and really having that like soul to soul connection. So again, I won't go too much on about it. All the information for SLG, Solid Guardian, is on my website. I primarily work with empaths and anxious people because it's that safe space for sensitives who love and respect their cats. So if you feel inspired to check it out, peeps, feel free. You've got any questions, you can always drop me a message and let me know.
Yay. Awesome. Well, I love you so much. Thank you for everything. And yeah, Archer already just seems like so much more like calm and regulated. So we're grateful for your wisdom and your energy.
It's been lovely. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to everybody that's been listening. If you've got any questions about anything we've talked about, feel free to drop me an email or get in touch. And I look forward to seeing pictures of him when you tag me on Instagram when he's using the color fabric on the floor. So let me know how
Oh,
that goes.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And thank you everyone for being here. Like if you do have questions for Julianne, please feel free to reach out. If there's anything else that you want to learn more about, any topic, nothing's off limits, like let me know. I do have some pretty amazing guests coming in and I'm planning to record a bunch of stuff. So make sure that if you're on YouTube, you're subscribed so you can get notifications when a new video drops. And then if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, I would super, super appreciate a follow and a review. And once a month, I do a free drawing for a coaching call with me for those who do leave a review. So feel like that's really motivating. So
Love it.
yeah, I'm excited. So we love you so much and we'll see you next time. Bye for
Thank you,
now.
my love. Take care.